Welcome everybody, my name is François Letarte, and this is my channel D30, a channel about tabletop role-playing games. Yeah, well, the dark side of this hobby led to many videos showing the shelves of many YouTubers and talking about what is not played to those shelves. Some of them called it shelves of shame, some of them called it shelves of hope. Well, I'll make the exercise. Yeah, it's a little messier. I'll make the exercise myself, going through what I have in my shelf, and commenting on about if it's shame or hope, and why do I have these books in particular. So yeah, I will stop on the books that I haven't played yet. Okay, so let's begin. Yeah, this is my Fighting Fantasy in French collection, but it's not what we're talking about here. Let's begin with that. Okay, oh, maybe you don't see it. Not enough light. Okay, Advanced Dungeons & Dragons First Edition. I've got those books for a really good price, I haven't paid a lot for that. I have that, the Dungeon Master's Guide, and the Monster Manual. Frankly, I have no intention in running this game. I've bought it by, just to reference them. I like to read them, I like to flip through them, I like to get some IDs, there are some very good IDs into that game. And yeah, but I have no intention, so no shame here, it's just part of my collection, some of the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons books. I like those editions, and this is the first game I ever played in my life, so there's some nostalgia here. Yeah, well, nothing to say about this here, I've played a lot of that, but this book, Return to the Temple of Elemental Evil, the French version. I used to have the English version, but someone gave me the French version. Yeah, I had the firm intention to run this back then. But I just forgot the ID after a while. This is a big module, and I like modules, but not that big. So shelf, is it for hope or shame? Well, neither both of them. It's just I won't think I will use this book, but yeah, no shame here. This one, another book that I got for cheap, kind of $5. Dragon Star, which is a D20 supplement to run Dungeons & Dragons 3rd edition in space. It's a science fiction game. Yeah, for $5 I've bought it just to see how it would handle science fiction. And I kept it because a group of friends were running something with that book. And there was some talk about me being a game master once in a while into that group. It never happened. So there was a little hope, but I'm not a big fan of Dragon Star. But maybe it would have been fun to run this for this group. But yeah, I keep it. Maybe I will get, I will give it to someone or sell it on the cheap. Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition Player's Handbook. Well, no shame here. I won't play this game. Well, maybe I could be the player if I have a good game master to get me into that. But I have no intention in running that. I have it just for reference. I've read it. Well, it's a fun read to have, but it's not a game for me. So it's just here for the collection. The same as this, I've never been into the hype of D&D 5th edition. I know this is a great game and all that. But for fantasy's sake, I have other games, in mind. I have it because maybe I will get into a game someday, and I want to be able to handle myself a little with, the basic stuff of it. I won't buy the Dungeon Master's Guides and all that. That's the only book I will have for 5th edition, I think. So it's just here, just in case I'm invited, since it's a very popular game, as we all know. Well, Pathfinder, I've played a lot of that with a group as a player. But if I become a game master, I have some hope for this one, the Adequate Commander, which makes you play commanders for your player character, the commander NPC class. That's the kind of book I'd like to try with Pathfinder, just to see how a tuned down version of Pathfinder would run, and yeah, so I have some hope for that. Maybe not. A little shame. Well, it was a very expensive book. It was a Kickstarted book. It was very expensive. Well, I'm glad to have buy it, but it's most possibly a book that will sleep on my shelf. I don't know. Cortex never played it. Well, with Serenity a little, but it's due. I will do it with my RPGS project as much as TriStat. So here, some stuff that will be played. After that, what do we have? Humanish. I'm not very high with vampire type of game or undead. This one got me some interest. Well, it's written by the same guy who handles Advanced Fighting Fantasy. Yeah, there's a cat here. It's the same guy who has wrote the present version of Advanced Fighting Fantasy, and he took the phase rip, the Marvel superheroes game system, and put that into that context of undeads, which I think would suit me. If I have a big demand for that type of game, a vampire-ish type of game, I would use this game. It seems very rules light and phase rip. I handle this. I don't know if I will ever run it, but I'm very happy to have that. And I also wrote a little article into that. It was part of my Kickstarted gift. I could write something into it. 7C. I've got this game for 50 cents. Truly. I won't open it, but all the pages are falling apart. So for 50 cents, I don't have to complain. This is a great game. No intention to run it, but I have it in my shelf. After that, well, GURPS Swashbuckler. Well, any GURPS books is good to have. Even if you don't play GURPS, the informations in that are very good. So I'm a big swashbuckling fan, musketeer type, and yeah, that book is very great to read. And I've used it once, in a GURPS game. I made a character out of this book. This one, yeah, this is GURPS Discworld in French. This was a very expensive book. Very, very expensive book. I've bought it for my girlfriend. She's a big fan of Terry Pratchett, and I have lots of friends who are fans of that author. I have never read any novels of him. I think I should read them because it seems very fun to read. And yeah, the role-playing game is written in the same fashion as the novels. I don't know if I will ever run that. Okay, that is a strange world, and it's GURPS powered. And GURPS, I don't know why. I don't think it's the right game to run this world. But yeah. So it's here. A very great book to read. Sorcerers of Arturok. I'd like to run something with that. Another Kickstarted game, the same author as Advanced Fighting Fantasy, Graham Butley, using the D6 system. So yeah, it was already in my heart when it came out. This is a deluxe version, some sort of Arabian Nights, sorcerer, troop style play. I really like to run that. I have hope for this one. I don't know if I will ever get people to run this. This is an unknown game mostly. But the game is gorgeous. I've made a flip through of it if you want to check out my videos. Palladium, role-playing game. Another book that I've bought on the cheap. Lots of the book I have were used books, but I've bought them for curiosity. And Palladium is one of those curiosity. I don't know if I will ever run that, though. I may have some hope. There's a little something about Palladium that pleases me in some way. I've played some Rift last summer. It revived me, maybe some desire to run something like Palladium. But I have other fantasy games in mind, so no plans. 17, well, 17. a French role-playing game, swashbuckling. I just saw a review in French this week, and man, I want to play this game. I understand it more after watching the review because I haven't had the chance to read this book yet. You know, it's in the 17th century, King Louis XIII reign, and all the characters are possessed by some sort of a ghost, okay, a spirit, and the spirit also have their own goals. The challenge here is that the characters have their stuff they want to do, and their spirit have stuff to make also. Yeah, so there's some sort of an inner battle, and also if the characters are discovered to be possessed, well, they will be arrested and put on the fire. They will be burned like witches. It's very interesting. I don't know if in this version it works like that. I know that the newest version of this game, it is suggested to have two game masters. You know, one game master running the game as it is, and another one playing the roles of all the spirits possessing the characters. So yeah, lots of hope for that. But I'm in contradiction here. I'm about to get into a all-for-one game, so I'm already into a supernatural type of swashbuckling game in the same era. So, and yeah, so all for one has won this time. Ragnarok, Fate of the Norns. Fafnir's Treasure. This is some sort of a demo of the game, which was not very expensive. I was curious about the game. I wanted to encourage the guy. You know, this is a guy from Montreal, and I don't know if I will ever run this game. It's very interesting, but you know, while flipping through it, I don't have immediate interest into running that game. Though it's very interesting. No dice, runes. You use runes that you pick up from a bag, and that tells you how good you are at doing your stuff, and very interesting mechanic, some sort of a mythical Viking setting. So, well, no shame about this one since it wasn't very expensive. Fiasco, well, I will run this game at some point. This is the French version. I just have to really understand it. You know, I've read it 3 times to tell you the truth. And I'm not sure I'm ready to run this. I want, you know, when I'll set up a table, I want to be able to really explain it and really feel the power of Fiasco. So, absolutely no hope here. I know I will play it. You know, I have already talked to the players. And since this is a type of one-shot games, you know, it falls more into the category of board games in a way. I'm changing my shelf. Okay, Star Wars, yeah, that has been played a lot. A lot and a lot. Oh yeah. Okay, a book here, 100 Sci-Fi Adventure Seeds. This is just plot hooks. A big book of plot hooks. Hasn't been used yet because I'm waiting for the next advanced fighting fantasy product, which will be Stellar Adventure. The advanced fighting fantasy in space, and that's the kind of book I want to use with it. I've bought the fantasy version of it. Well, I've used it a little on a 100 fantasy seats. That's the kind of book I like, you know, with IDs already structured and all that. Well, GURPS Discworld and other GURPS Discworld here. As I said, GURPS books are good to have. Here, what do we have? Yeah, Mournblade. I've talked about it into my Stormbringer Elric video I've made recently. The French version of that, it's not available in English. I don't know if I will run it. And you know, I've paid a lot for this book. Only because I'm a fan of Elric. And I was really curious about that game. But you know, the Chaosium version, or even the Mongoose version, which is in lots of points similar to Chaosium, well, I think it suits me more. I don't know, maybe I will read it and I will fall in love with it. So far, I'm not sure. And I'm not sure why I've bought it, except for the fact that I'm a big fan of Elric. The same goes for here, for this version of Elric. I don't think I will run this version of Elric. It's just here in my shelf. Maybe I will, get rid of it at some point. Yeah, used book I've bought for $1. Les Trois Mousquetaires, Flashing Blades, another swashbuckling game. An old one, very interesting, but for $1, who has to complain? Yeah, games that I've played a lot: Men in Black, Dungeons and Dragons, Star Trek. Back then, Legend, I've played it a lot. Fate and Savage Worlds. Fate Core. Never played it. I've bought it since there's some sort of a hype about Fate. To tell you the truth, every time I open the Fate book, I just can't get past a couple of pages. I just don't feel that it's the game for me. Well, not yet. I'll be ready to try it as a player. I don't know as a game master. That kind of generic system. I can find my needs elsewhere. Well, I have it, and I have plans to at least read it once through it. Savage Worlds. Bought it because I got in Brigade Con. I've won some sort of a rebate coupon to buy something on the Pinnacle Entertainment website, and the only product that really was interesting to me was Savage Worlds. I hear a lot about Savage Worlds. Seems to be a great game. Once again, I have no plan to read it, but yeah, the book cost me mostly nothing because I kind of won it. I will read it, and maybe I will change my ways and become a Savage Worlds crazy fan. Maybe. Here. Yeah, not so light. Dungeoneer. Advanced Fighting Fantasy First Edition. Bought it just for reference, just to have an idea of where my favorite game is coming from. I will never run this version of Advanced Fighting Fantasy. It's really not the second edition. By reading Dungeoneer, I really didn't like what Dungeoneer was offering. But I keep it, for my collection. And another, fighting fantasy, the first fighting fantasy role-playing, which is very minimal, like the fighting fantasy game books. It's exactly the same rules, with lots of advice on how to make them into a role-playing, context. Only for, my archives to understand my favorite game. No real intentions to run that. So, well, this is my shelf. No really shame here. Yeah, probably the game I really knew that I would never have to deal with. I have already gave them to somebody as a gift or sold them into a used bookstore. I'm the kind of guy who will get rid of his books that I know I won't use. I only keep stuff that might potentially be used or might help me, for my reference and all that. I buy lots of used books because, where they're on the cheap, well, there's no shame here. It's not a big loss. I think it's a big win when you have such rich books. 50 cents for this one. I'm very glad to have bought it to this price. So, yeah, that was it. Nothing very intellectual about my presentation, but still, this is my shelf of shame, of hope, my shelf with all the stuff. So, François Letard, JDRD30, and up to next time, I hope you have as much fun in your life as in your games. Goodbye.